Hi, I'm David Goforth with the Cooperative Extension Successful Gardener. Today I'm here in the Mickey McGee Park, which is in the city of Concord, and we're on the McEachern Greenway. My guide today is Sarah Newberry, and we do appreciate you showing me around today, telling me about this greenway. In fact, sort of what got you started down here walking this?
Well, I think this is a very pleasant greenway to walk on because there's a creek and it's shaded, it's all paved, it's a mile from here to Myers Park, and a lot of people enjoy this area.
And now where's the other end go?
The other end goes up to the Concord Post Office, and there's about half a mile from here to the post office. So if you do the whole greenway, it's a mile and a half. And then back it's one way, yes. And then 3 miles round trip.
So it's uphill to the post office from here.
It's uphill to the post office, it sure is, yeah. It's nice to start at the post office and walk down.
Well, what we want to do today is look at a few of the different plants that are here at the Greenway and identify them, and so you know a little bit more about what you're seeing when you walk along. So let's take a look. This is one of the trees that was planted down here. You notice this as it comes in the park. This is a river birch, and we would expect to see river birches down along the creek. We wouldn't expect to see them quite this pretty a bark here. This bark is a selected one called Heritage that we selected because the bark's so pretty, but you'll see ones that look like this up and down along the creek. This one is available in the nursery trade and makes a very good multi-stem trunk. You can see they've got this one about 5 trunks coming up at this height here. You want to try to sort of select for 3 or 5, and that will look very good. The only disadvantage I see to this one is that it will drop leaves starting about June. There's leaves already dropping from this tree here, and so you don't want to put it over top of a swimming pool or someplace like that where the leaves would be a problem. But it is a very beautiful tree. Let's take a look at some other plants that you might notice down here. Now, Sarah, this is one that you did recognize here.
Yes, this grows all along the creek and all along the greenway. I don't know if it's been planted or if it's just grown up wild.
Yeah, it is a Chinese ligustrum, and I know that within parts of the greenway or parts of the creek bottom, it has been naturalized. It was originally introduced several decades ago, and it's now naturalized pretty much up and down the creek. And in fact, it's a real problem because this stays green all winter and blocks the sunlight from getting to the ground. And so a lot of the little things like trout lilies or things like that down low, we're not seeing those. And I'm sort of like you, I think they moved them into a line along the edge of the greenway here. They were probably growing various places here, and they just collected them all and moved them over to the edge to protect a little bit along the bank here for the greenway. But it's not the kind of plant that you would find in the nursery trade anymore because it is invasive. Now you can find the variegated one, and you say this was real common on down the stream too.
Yes, oh yes, everywhere. Yes.
Now another one that may not be quite as common is this one back here. It is also a ligustrum.
Oh yes.
Do you see a lot of this one, Sarah?
Not a lot of it, but yeah, there is some of that, yeah.
This ligustrum, of course, it's got a lot larger leaf than the other one. Looks a little bit like another ligustrum called the Ligustrum japonica, a regular Japanese ligustrum, but this is different. This one is Ligustrum Lucidum, and the reason it's got that name is because right along the margin here, it's got sort of a margin that you can see into like that, and then the other one is solid along the edge and doesn't have that little clear margin that you can see when you're looking up close. Again, this one's no longer available in the nursery trade. It was originally brought in as a screening plant, but it is naturalized. This was here dropped by a bird here down on the stream bank, or seed washed in, one of the two, and they can be a sort of invasive weed now is what we consider it. Maybe even worse than this one right here. You know that
I recognize that, kudzu.
Yeah, we've got just a little bit of kudzu here.
Yep, starting out, yep. A lot of people are allergic to these ligustrum when they're blooming.
The
allergy,
pollen,
the
and
pollen
allergy,
in them, yeah.
Very attractive to insects and things, but yeah, somewhat ligustrum. Now this plant right here,
there's a lot of that.
This is a lot of this one here. This is a member of the maple family. This is a box elder tree, and occasionally you see leaves like this one down here, and people say, hey, that's looking like a poison ivy tree.
Yes.
It's not. This one is a member of the maple family and will grow quite frequently down in wet areas like this, less frequently as we get on up into the housing areas. The box elder is the one that supports the box elder bug, which you may have seen that one in various homes around at times. But down here where the box elders are plentiful, the box elder bugs will move into adjacent homes and try to overwinter there. Sort of a small weak tree, not a real good ornamental tree because of the insect problems and because the fruit clusters, have you ever noticed them fruiting structures over the winter, Sarah?
Yes. Some
Looks
of them, I
like
think, have some on them.
Dirty socks hanging in there, don't they?
Yeah. I thought it was poison ivy, but it's not. It's a box elder. Okay.
Box elder.
Oh, good.
And you said there's a tree down here with a large leaf on it. Let's go look at that one.
Okay. David, here's a tree that there's a number of these along the Greenway. Can you tell me what it is?
Yes, it's an ash tree, and I imagine those are some of the more beautiful trees that we've got down here. Ash trees will turn normally a yellowish color come fall of the year, and expect once it gets a little bit of energy here, it will be a very beautiful tree. I may have a little trouble telling which ash it is though, without going to the books and looking them up. We've got basically 4 ashes in North Carolina. We've got a pumpkin ash, which doesn't really grow in Cabarrus County, and we've got a white ash, and I don't know that I've ever seen a white ash. That leaves us the American ash and the green ash, and the best I can tell, this is the American ash. The difference is actually the buds, where they come out of the stem. On one of them, the buds is covered up. On either the American or the green ash, the buds are covered, and on the other one, the buds are exposed, sitting on top of the leaf. And it's hard for me to keep those straight, but I do know it is in the ash family. Ashes are also useful in the ornamental trade. You can buy an ash tree, but you want to make sure you've got a fairly wet location to put it in. When we try to transplant it into a dry location, it really struggles, but it can make a nice long shade tree. In fact, if you look up there, you'll see that a lot of sunlight comes through here. You don't get 100% shade, or even 60% shade through this tree. It's probably closer to 40% shade, and so you can actually still grow grass underneath an ash tree, and they make very beautiful trees. Nice wood too. They make baseball bats out of ashes, so that's where the baseball bats come from, is from ashes like that. Of course, ash that grows on an upland soil is going to be better quality than the one that grows down here in the wet like this one has. But still a beautiful tree down here. Well, that tunnel had an interesting echo in it, so we're sort of on the south side of the tunnel here, crossed under 73. Very convenient to do that, and looking at some of the plants along there.
I know this is a willow, David, but what kind of willow is this?
This is the black willow. Black willow is the native willow that grows in wet areas. You won't find it much out of wet areas, and so this area stays wet enough with the drainage here to support a pretty good population of willows. Now I see a dead one back there. That actually may have been dieback from the drought of 2007, where some of this water seeping in on this side couldn't keep it going. So this is our native willow here, and not really one we use much in ornamentals. We do have a weeping willow that's very similar to this, but a different genus, or different species rather, that is in our ornamentals. But they tend to be short-lived, and they're not real popular. Plus, they've had a real hard time with this droughts we've had recently at the willows in our landscape. But overall, a beautiful plant. That's a source of aspirin. Did you know that?
No.
The bark is
from a willow?
Yeah, is where the original salicylic acid. Of course, they synthesize it now, but the bark could be used, if you're camping or something, as a substitute for that.
There's a large specimen right there.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful black willow, and they tend to be short-lived too, and so you don't see a real large specimen like that too often.
David, I know this is a black walnut, but I also know there's some pecans along here. How do we tell the difference when they're young?
Well, I hope everybody doesn't do it, but what a person could do is sort of crunch this a little bit and smell. This one's got a distinctive black walnut smell to it, whereas your pecans have, there's a different smell, but not near as strong as the black walnut smell. So that's one way of telling it when you've got a little seedling like the one I see right over there. If you have a difficulty telling it, the smell will definitely give it away.
Next to this little walnut is a plant that I see a lot of, David. What is this?
This one is a herbaceous perennial called bear's foot. B-E-A-R, bear foot, bear's foot. It will get quite a bit taller than this. I've seen it 3 times this height, and will have a yellow flower on it real late in the fall of the year. A very interesting plant, and when it gets to be a lot of them, they can be a fairly distinctive, feature plant. And then it'll die back in the winter and come back. It can come back from the roots, or it can come back from seed. But it's in the aster family, and bear's foot is the common name for it.
Hey David, there are a lot of these mimosa growing along the Greenway. They were beautiful in the spring with their pink flowers.
Yeah, obviously a member of the bean family. You can see the bean pods that are hanging here now, and they will seed all into the ornamental beds around everywhere. One of those that is really nice to have in your neighbor's yard, quite honestly. You can enjoy the flowers when you go to work, and you don't have to deal with all the sprouts coming up from both root sprouts and seedling sprouts. This plant is interesting to me because of the shape of the leaf. You take this leaf here, it's what we call bipinnately compound, and there's not that many bipinnately compound leaves. You look at this, it's got the bud down here on the next to the stem. It's got a center one here, and then it comes out with center ones here, and then the little leaflets are on that one. So you've got a 1-2 pinnate, which they call bipinnately, and then it's compound because it's got more than one leaflet per bud. So you now know a bipinnately compound leaf.
David, there's a lot of this plant here with the large leaves along the creek. What is that?
Yeah, this is the sycamore tree, and the leaves here look very large because it's a sprout. It's a root sprout. They evidently cut one down that was too close to the bridge, and then the root sprouts have come back up, and that's why the leaves are so large right here, although it does have a large leaf, which is one of the problems with it when we try to bring it into our landscape. The leaves can be a little bit messy. I sometimes recommend this as a fast grower when you need a tree quick somewhere for some reason, but I don't think it's a real quality tree, particularly when it gets old enough, starts dropping fruit. That's also considered messy. The fruit is a round ball that has a lot of little seedlings in it, but this is very common down here. It's got very nice bark during the winter. You see it along creeks. The white bark looks very beautiful, striking during the winter. So interesting tree. These little parts to the leaf here are the stipules, and this one's got some very large, obvious stipules on the leaf where the leaf joins the stem. Those other leaf parts that look like it's sort of a different shaped leaf are actually called stipules, and so very distinctive, very large stipules on this particular plant.
Okay, David, here's something I don't recognize. What is this with the large leaf?
Well, this is a pawpaw, and I'm not sure which one it is. We've got both the dwarf pawpaw and the regular pawpaw in the state, and I think this may be the dwarf pawpaw right here, but I know it's definitely in the pawpaw genus. So they will have a fruit on them that somebody was telling me just this past weekend they love the fruit taste.
I've heard people like pawpaws.
I do not like them. I could not, I can't stand to eat them, you know, and I can eat a lot.
Do they get larger than this? Is it more like a tree or more like a
The dwarf pawpaw will not get a whole lot larger than this. The regular pawpaw will get on up to about 15-20 foot.
Okay.
And can be a more of a tree form. A lot of times the dwarf pawpaw will run in a colony, like you see some back there. It'll run sort of in a colony and make a colony of course that's very big to be a dwarf one back there. This may be the regular pawpaw right here. That gets on up 15-20 foot. They don't have a lot of fruit in the wild, but if you get them out in the open where they get full sun, they can have quite a bit of fruit per tree. They've actually got a pawpaw festival coming up sometime, so if anybody's interested in that, they can give me a call at the office. Well, Sarah, I certainly appreciate you taking me a tour along your walkway down here. This has been very interesting, and be sure that if anybody wants to visit, they need to check with the city website because the hours do change some during the winter, but it's generally open this time of the year from 8 in the morning to 9 at night. And you said you like it a little bit in the afternoon.
I like
when
it
it's a little cooler.
Later, yes, when it cools down a little bit, yes.
Yes, and you come out here, it's very dog friendly. You've brought your dog out here at times, and so it's actually a very beautiful greenway, and I think quite an asset to the city, and also some interesting plants that you can learn here. If you've got any other questions about the plants, you can always give me a call at the office. And until next time, plan and plant for a better world.